If you identify yourself as a pessimist or a realist, you're harming yourself by making your anxiety worse. But I get it. I used to say similar things. I could always think of a complaint or a way something that could go wrong, and that was always the first thing that would pop into my head. And if that's similar to you, I can understand why you'd think that that's just the way you are and that there's no way to change who you are at your core. But the truth is, that's not the person that you have to be. And even if it is who you are right now, that doesn't mean it has to be that way forever. The truth is that your brain has been programmed a certain way. Part of that may be due to genetics. We are naturally more apt to notice problems in our environment because anticipating problems is one of the things that keeps us alive. In a harsher environment, someone who didn't recognize potential problems and try to avoid them probably wouldn't have survived. But in this day and age, when we're not faced with as many threats on a day-to-day basis, our brain is still in that mode of perceiving every little thing that comes up as a potential threat, which leads to those overwhelming and anxious feelings that you may get when you're about to meet with your boss, when you're going grocery shopping, or when you're driving, or getting ready to get on a long flight. And even though this feeling served its purpose for you to choose whether to flee from a potential threat, fight it, or figure out a way around it, it isn't serving you right now, and it's probably just making you feel like you're standing on the edge of a large cliff all the time. So if this feeling is no longer serving us, and it's something that most people are genetically programmed with, how do we get away from it? And the answer is simple, but it does take a bit of practice. It's to reprogram the way that our brains operate on a daily basis to not just perceive threats, but to change our brain's focus to notice things that could go right instead of wrong. And luckily, with newer research into neuroplasticity and neuroscience, we now know that this is actually possible. It is possible to reprogram your brain to perceive joy, happiness, and peace instead of conflict and potential threats. And the way we do that is just like rebuilding an old garden that has grown weeds. We have to pull out all those old weeds that have grown and have become overgrown in the garden that is your mind. And we have to make sure we dig down deep and attack those old weeds by the root. And that means whenever those anxious feelings come up, like a weed, the only part we see is the top, but the roots sometimes go very deep. And we have to identify what the root cause of the anxiety is. Is it a chemical cause? Are we not getting proper nutrition? Is it from old patterns and beliefs that we need to release and train our brains to let go of? Once we identify the cause, i.e. the root of the anxiety, it's much easier to dig out. But after the garden is clear of all the roots, the garden must still be maintained. Weed seeds may blow into the garden and try to establish themselves in your nice, peaceful, clean garden, and we know that the best way to keep a garden beautiful is to weed it every day. So even when you've overcome your anxiety, you must continue to maintain that state by weeding your garden daily. And only then, after your garden is weeded, can you begin to plant those beautiful flowers and make that garden the beautiful place it can be. And then you must water them every day, sometimes twice a day, and wait for them to bloom. And it's the same with anxiety. We identify and then we dig out those old patterns and beliefs. We nourish our gardens with the proper nutrition, and we feed our flowers and not the weeds. And then we plant the right types of seeds, the ones that we want, the happy thoughts that make us peaceful, and we water them every day. And with a little patience and some effort, you'll soon have a beautiful garden filled with beautiful flowers. So if you're currently struggling with anxiety and you feel like that there's not a light at the end of the tunnel, treat your mind like a garden. Build a fence around it, pull the weeds out, and begin to plant the things that you want to grow and nurture and water them every day. And before you know it, your mind will be a beautiful garden as well, instead of just a bed of weeds. To get more tips on how to overcome your anxiety, click the link around this video to join my free Facebook group, or go to facebook.com/groups/anti-anxiety.